Hello everyone, a very good evening to you. A massive welcome back to the fourth qualifying race of the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series. I can't believe it, the fourth one, the final one. And welcome to Ferrari's first official esports series. Now, we are, well, I'm going to say maybe a little bit biased here because I think we're at the greatest track of all time. It is my home GP circuit. We're at the circuit of Silverstone. I'm Nikki Shields, and alongside me presenting this show is Paul Jeffrey. Paul, you are a very experienced sim racing professional, and you guys might have known him from Race Department as well. But what can we expect from today's race? Because we've had 3 awesome qualifiers so far, but this is the last one. It's the last chance for these guys to qualify.
Well, hello Nikki, and hello everybody. Cannot believe we're on finals day. This is going to be super exciting. And Nikki, as you say, I think what we can expect from this one is pressure, excitement. The drivers have got to give everything. They've got one shot, one final chance to get through to the AM Championship proper next month. Anything could happen, and Silverstone, what an amazing venue. There's overtaking opportunities, it's a driver challenge. This has got all the ingredients of being the best race of the season so far.
Oh, I like it. You've put it out there, Paul. I hope that's not a commentator's curse. But we have seen some awesome first 3 races, so let's take a recap of what happened last time out.
The cars are lined up, the grid is ready. The third round of the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series knockout racers is about to go at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. Our pole position man, Marcian Swiddery, will be looking to make the ultimate start from the grid. The lights are gone, the cars are off, everybody's piling down into the very fast first corner here at Barcelona. A great start from pole position man Swiddery to lead coming down into T1. Nims on the outside looking to be overtaken for second position. Everybody's piling through the first corner nice and clean, as we've seen throughout the course of this series so far from the entirety of the grid. We're looking at Leo Bohe now in 6th position on the outside. Is vulnerable to an overtake from the cars behind. Looks to defend the inside in this situation, and the problem that we've got for Karate is he's starting to come under pressure from the field behind, as we're seeing an overtaking attempt into the chicane. A little bit of contact there from the 2 cars, and that is a fight for 4th position. So Natale loses their place to Miranowski ahead, and that is an overtake for 4th position. High risk, high value, high reward there. So 4th position, and Marco Pinero now starting to look interested in Karate ahead. Up the inside into T1, very late braking. Karate across the track very, very early. Contact side by side with the 2 cars running wide onto the tarmac. Fortunately, there's no gravel there, and oh dear, Pinero loses it over the sausage curbs, trying to get too enthusiastic to get back on the track, and frankly, that was a late overtaking manoeuvre from Pinero, but the line was closed down when he was already committed. And unfortunately, Enzo, that's the kind of mistake or incident that you see when the field's so tight, isn't it? A really good example, as we see coming up to the uphill chicane. This is a good overtaking manoeuvre opportunity from Slavanik. Gets the inside, his car behind is trying to fight back around the outside of the right-hander. That's going to be a brave move if he can pull it off, and he does. That's incredible driving, and a perfect example, Enzo, of giving each other respect and racing room.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you need a lot of practice to do this kind of things, you know. I mean, it's I agree, it's harder to see where you position your car. Sometimes even we as professionals do this kind of mistakes, but these guys are doing a great job right now. This racing is crazy, and it's absolutely amazing to see such a battle with these cars.
To remind everybody at home, the car is the Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo. The track is the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, as Slavanik now gets up the inside for 13th position. That creates a bit of a chain reaction behind as the cars condense and catch on the brakes. That leaves a door now for Kitinescu to try and walk through the sweeping right-hander. You see him just getting a little bit of opposite lock where the rear of the car wants to overtake the front. The rear's not as planted as he would hope for in the final stages of this 30-minute race event, the third of 4 knockout events here in the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series, and we've got 4 cars separated by nothing more than a piece of paper between them. In the bottle, the first of the drivers under pressure, and behind him the field is fanning out. We've got Kitanescu looking up the inside again, a little bit late on the brakes, manages to get the car stopped on the apex, and Kitanescu takes the position for 13th. Heading down the final corner, about to cross the line for race victory in the 3rd round of the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series is Marcin Sidoric. A dominant performance and an absolutely incredible race victory in this, the 3rd of 4 races.
Oh, it was such tough competition last race. I mean, the bar has been set so high, Paul. It was brilliant to see Martin Svidrick, though, taking the win and 4 seconds ahead of Jan Nims, who ended in 2nd. But it's only getting tougher, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as you say, the bar was set incredibly high. Barcelona, a stunning venue. There's overtaking opportunities. We saw cars going too wide for 3, 4, 5 corners, racing, throwing themselves up the inside, giving each other respect and racing room. We saw a beautiful performance at the front of the field, and the drivers are just on form at the moment. And Silverstone is Barcelona plus. So this is going to be even better.
That is what we like to hear. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a look at those 18 drivers who have managed to secure themselves a spot in the AM Series. Brilliant to see. I mean, Jarno Koch, he put in a phenomenal performance at the race in Spa. But some of the names, they didn't necessarily qualify in the first race. I mean, we had old Numanatelli. He came on the 3rd time of asking that he's managed to secure himself in the AM Series. So it's brilliant to see those names. There he is down in 4th on the race in Barcelona last week.
Yeah, there's some great names, there's some great performances that we've seen throughout the field. And the drivers, the level that these drivers get to, Nikki, to get to the point where they can get that top 6 finish and qualify into next month's final, it's phenomenal, isn't it?
It really is. And obviously this is the reminder. This is the last qualifier race for the AM Series, which means the next time we go out, it is going to be the Pro Series. And I'm so excited because we are going to be announcing that full entry list in today's show. And well, there are lots of familiar names, some big names, and I'm really excited because we have not 1, not 2, we've got 3 female sim racers, and they're really strong drivers too. So they're going to be ones to watch, and I can't wait to announce them. Paul, actually, I've got to ask you, women getting to the top in esports, do you think we're going to see a change in that at the moment?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I don't want to spoil it by saying the names of the drivers just yet, but we've got one lady in there in particular that we've seen in a number of different high-profile esport competitions. She's very quick. I've seen her at race department. I've raced against her actually before as well, and a really competitive driver. And I think as esport gets bigger, and people become more aware of what esports is, and there are more competitions, inclusive competitions like the Ferrari Hublot Series, it's natural that we're going to get to see more female participation and the cream rise to the very top of the field. Really exciting.
Absolutely, can't wait to see those names.
But Nikki, that brings me on to the point of the championship and how it works. So for everybody at home, this is a competition that's been set up by Ferrari that is open to absolutely anybody in the Europe region through qualification process to come and be part of the Ferrari Driver Academy alongside drivers like reigning F1 Esports champion David Tanitsa. It's a great initiative and a great series, and let's have a quick look at how the format is laid out. The AM qualifiers consist of 4 hot lap sessions, beginning at 9:30 AM on Monday and running throughout each day of the week until closing at 6 PM on the Thursday before race day. At the end of every weekly hot lap session, the fastest 24 drivers are called to compete in a broadcasted knockout race, where only the top 6 race finishers will advance to the AM Series in October. You can join every weekly session and try and reach the top 24. There is absolutely no limit on how many attempts you can make to set a time. The only limiting factor is the amount of patience needed to keep fighting for that all-important top finish.
Once you have qualified for the AM Series, you will join a 4-round championship in parallel with 24 Pro players invited by Ferrari. Both the Pro and AM categories will be broadcast across the various social channels of this powerful and historic motorsport organisation. At the end of the 4 rounds, the best 12 drivers from each series will compete in a 2-day grand final event in November. The question that everyone will be asking, not least of which is the drivers themselves: who will be crowned the inaugural Ferrari Hublot Esports champion?
It's a very good question, Paul. Who will be crowned? Well, we are one step closer to finding out. Now, if you do want to watch, make sure you do go to FerrariEsportsSeries.gg, because that is where you can get all the info you need about the championship. And of course, let's not forget that these drivers are going to be racing in the brand new and exclusively designed Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo car, which is just such an awesome car, specifically designed for this by the creators of Assetto Corsa, which is very wicked. Now, a quick reminder as well, series is obviously composed of 3 main parts. We've got the AM qualifiers, the final one today, then the AM and Pro series are going to be taking place in October, and then those grand finals taking place in November. And Paul, you mentioned there earlier, this is a massive once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We were speaking to Enzo Benito last time out, and I just loved the excitement in his voice when he told us about what his job is. He's so proud of it. This has completely changed his life to join the Ferrari Drivers Academy. So it's really exciting that these drivers are with the opportunity to do exactly that. Now, tracks, you mentioned we're racing here at Silverstone. Unbelievably, it's one of the most beautiful, it's my favourite, and definitely one of the most challenging racetracks in the world. Paul, what do these drivers have to overcome? How are they going to master a race win here today?
Silverstone, just saying, Nick, I agree. I'm very biased because I'm British. It's the home of the British Grand Prix. But it's got such a fast track. It's held the record of being the fastest circuit lap in Formula 1 with Keke Rosberg for many, many years. There's quick corner entry, technical sections, there's overtaking and slipstreaming opportunities, and then there's the pressure of competition. The drivers, as you say, they're in the last chance to make something into the finals. So it all comes together incredibly excited, I think, on this one.
Absolutely. I know. I love some of those corners. Absolutely flat out and furious. Right. Okay. So now let's take a look at the entry list of today.
So we've got Marco Pinero, who is a driver that we've seen before in many of the different championships. And we've got a good mix again of driver nationalities. Germany, Poland, Italy, the United Kingdom as well are represented. A driver from Slovakia as well there. So really exciting to see all these drivers come together and some names we recognise from previous competition.
I'm really hoping that Marco Panetta actually makes it through because he's tried so. He hasn't been necessarily the most consistent driver, but he's always there in the qualifying round. So let's see how he gets on today. But now it's time to take a look at the lap overview of the iconic Silverstone circuit and how this track is going to really challenge all of the drivers.
The Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, an incredible test of man and machine, starting with the ultra high speed first corner at Abbey. Slight lift on the throttle, keep the car within the confines of the circuit as you run down into the arena. Some slow corners here, an excellent place to lose or gain lap time. Running down into Brooklands, keep the car in the middle of the track, get on the throttle early to power through the old final corner at Woodcott. Down into Copse, a very, very fast corner, balance the car on the apex to get a good run down to here, the finest section of corners in World Motorsport. Maggots, high velocity, through into the swooping left, then right, then left again at Beckett's, exiting in 5th gear with the foot firmly to the floor. Down into Stowe, very fast on corner entry, be careful not to run wide on the exit as we run down to the final chicane through the Vale corner for a lap of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit in England.
Oh, you're getting me excited, Paul, with that track map. I mean, it always brings back so many great memories, you know, either watching the F1 or I've actually managed to experience it firsthand myself. And as you mentioned, it is a fast track and I love it. So many technical moments, so many corners where you can just stay flat out. And I think, you know, watching those drivers go through maggots and cops, they're just such sort of iconic parts of racetracks. I can't wait to see it. What about you?
Well, sadly, I've got no driving experience at Silverstone, but plenty as a spectator. And one thing I can say, and this is why virtual motor racing is incredibly good, Silverstone is always freezing cold and often raining. So it's nice that we're going to stay dry and warm at the very least on this one.
It's a very good point. We can do this in the comfort. Maybe some of you wearing your pajamas still, which is a great way to go racing. But let's take a little look now at the qualifying results for today's 24 sim drivers before we head over to the start of that fourth race of the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series at Silverstone.
Mateusz Tajcevic takes pole position from Marco Pinero and Wojciech Lukaszek in third place. Alex Vetero rounds out the first two rows of the grid. As we've seen throughout this knockout series, the field is incredibly tight. There is nothing separating our front runners and it lines up for a great race here at the Silverstone Grand Prix track.
Okay, well, that is it. The 24 drivers in today's qualifying race, only 6 of them are going to be going through into the AM Series. So I think it is time, Paul, that we hit the track and let the action commence for the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series.
And here we go then for the British Grand Prix round at Silverstone of the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series. Our pole position man, Mateusz Tajcevic, will be looking to make the best start, heading down into the first corner, and he gets away from the line very cleanly indeed. A little bit of wheel spin, the tyre smoke at the back of the car showing the velocity that these Ferrari 488 Challenge vehicles are putting through their rear tyres. But pole position has converted into race lead. Marco Pinero retains second position. In third, we have now got Ottavani. The Italian has made up ground at race start, heading into the difficult complex at the start of this Silverstone lap. We have gonna have a great race, Nicky Shields, I am sure, and our pole position man has done exactly what he needs to do at this early stage of the race. Okay, so now, as we're heading down into the original Grand Prix layout of the Silverstone circuit, Marco Pinero retains second position. You can see the car, the number 85 at the race leading Chiskiev is currently over 1 second to the good. At the front of the field, we've got 23 cars on the grid. Lukaszek in third position swaps places with Max Bishkoff. Bishkoff's a name you'll recognise. You see him on the outside coming through Cop's corner. Got to be very careful at that corner. An incredibly fast part of the racetrack. And Nicola, this has been a very exciting start as they come through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel on the very first lap. Look at this beautiful shot of the cars powering through this really quick section of racetrack. Famous the world over is the Beckett's section of corners as we're looking at Marco Pantola now in sixth position. Pantola currently in sixth, moving up from his grid position. And Nicky, that's a pretty frantic but very clean start to the race so far.
Oh, yeah, which is what we love about this racing that we've seen so far in this championship. It has always been nice and clean, which just shows the, you know, professional nature of these drivers, but brilliant to see them get underway and race, as you said, at one of the most historic tracks there is in motor racing. But of course, let's just remind ourselves it is just the top 6 that will get through to the AM Series. So there is a lot to play for at the moment and some familiar names back on track fighting for the final chance to get into the AM Series. I think we've got Pinero there doing well. I mean, just a second off the leader at the moment. So it's going to be exciting stuff.
It is indeed, and talking about that top 6 and the opening lap, Max Bishkoff, a name that everybody may recognise from earlier in the series, running as high as 4th position, but Bishkoff made a mistake down into 7th, so he's outside of the places he needs to be. We've not seen exactly what's happening. Maybe we'll go to a replay a little bit later on, but Max Bishkoff up and down the running order quickly so far in this opening couple of minutes of the race. He's still got 27 minutes left on the clock, so there's still opportunity aplenty as we're riding on board, well, off board should I say now, with the Ferrari of, actually we're looking at Dende, so we're looking at William Dende currently in 13th position, chasing down Mirovic ahead of him. Williams got a lot of work still to do, but this is natural at the Silverstone track. You get bunches of cars together where the car at the head of the queue's maybe not got the ultimate pace, and the cars behind are trying to find a way past, but this is early race, the tyre pressures are low, the tyres are cold, the fuel is at its heaviest, and it's a game almost of high-speed chess while you work out what you've got underneath you and what the rivals around you are capable of doing, as well as, again, look at the beautiful Maggots and Beckett's complex. This is a wonderful section of corners.
Beautiful section of corners, and I also love the camera angles on this. What's so brilliant about this game is it's so realistic. You know, you've got the sort of the jib shot, as we call it in the TV world, which is the shot that comes up from up above, and so you can just see the cars curving and around those corners, and yeah, it's really lovely to see.
It is, and as you were talking there, Denby made a mistake coming into Stowe, so got too much curb on the inside, unsettled the car. You saw it bouncing on its suspension. That's made him vulnerable to an attack from Watts, who's now side by side coming through the final section of lap. Watts manages to find enough space to overtake Dende. He's now under pressure from the car behind, so William Dende, one small mistake has led to a position loss and plenty of time to the cars ahead. He's dropped back as well, so Dende, we were speaking about how he's got a lot of work ahead of him in 13th position. That has become increasingly more difficult as he's lost more real estate and one position to his rival. So it just shows you these drivers need to give everything without making mistakes, and one man who's hoping to make no mistakes is this driver in 3rd position. So Lukovic in 3rd position, the Polish driver, chasing down Marco Pinheiro. Pinheiro's a guy that we've seen set the fastest time in the hot lap qualifications on more than one occasion, the last 2 races in fact, but for one reason or another Pinheiro's not been able to convert this into a race result, so the Italian driver will be desperate to retain this top 6 place, but at the same time we're very keen not to concede to the chasing Lushkech behind. Riding now up into the Beckett section of circuit. Look at this beautiful corner, really fast on corner entry, taking plenty of curb. You can take the curb in these cars. The suspension will take the vibration, will take the unsettling nature of the curbs, but still allow you to continue the forward momentum. It's the quickest way through the corners, shorten the length of distance of track as much as possible and get in the slipstream. Let the dirty air of the car in front suck you up to the rear of that car, give you more horsepower to make a position. And this is Max Bishkoff that we spoke about earlier, Nicky, starting his recovery drive to fight for 6th.
Yeah, absolutely. He's given us plenty of action to watch. He's a 23-year-old German student and has been doing a lot of sim racing for the last 5 years, so he's going to be one to watch and obviously looking to make an impression here. He said, I think becoming a professional gamer would be the greatest achievement and something that he would strive for. So dreams can be made winning this competition, and I think, you know, we mentioned it at the top of the show, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Can you imagine what it would mean to actually become a Ferrari driver, part of the Ferrari Driver Academy? Wow.
Yeah, an absolutely incredible opportunity, and that opportunity has just got one step closer for Max Bishkoff. While we were looking at him on screen, oh no, there's a mistake there. That is Francesco Panetta just going past there. Bishkoff has managed to turn the car around at the loop. I was just about to say he's found himself in 6th position. One of his rivals ahead seemed to have a momentary problem, and Bishkoff, as we were talking about it, a little bit too excitable on the loud pedal coming through the loop, has pirouetted the car, and that has opened up the fight for 6th position considerably. Vetero currently holds that position. Dizjek in 7th, just behind him. We're riding on board now with Luciano Bedin in 8th position. position. These cars are separated by absolutely nothing. Panetta behind, getting the run, coming through Cox. There'll be nothing doing there. He'll want to close up to the rear of the car, try and get through the Maggots and Beckett's and Chapel complex for the run down the Hanger straight, but just in the click of her fingers, in the blink of an eye, a momentary loss of concentration, and Max Bishkoff has gone from somebody I was praising to somebody who's now very much down and out in 15th position.
And we've seen this so many times before. You know, there is so much pressure on these drivers. They've got to just get into the momentum and just keep doing it lap by lap by lap and not let the pressure get to them, because then mistakes can be made. And yeah, we've just got to keep your cool for the half an hour of this race, the duration of this race, to maintain that position. And we have seen mistakes being made before.
Yep, it's easier said than done. You think 30 minutes, not a long time to push and focus, but it's incredibly difficult when the pressure cooker of the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series is in action. And what that is meaning to us, the viewers at home, thank you for joining in by the way, and Nikki and myself in the comms box, is we have got a fight of fights for this 6th position. This is the spot the drivers need. This is the place you have got to finish this race to get through to next month's final. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers vying for that position, separated by nothing, absolutely nothing on the circuit. One overtaking manoeuvre, one mistake, and the chance of glory is yours. And the man in the pound seats so far is Vetero in 6th position. Alex Vetero, an Italian driver, a 27-year-old Italian student, currently has the most important spot on this grid, but he's under pressure now. We can see the car behind, the white Ferrari 488 Challenge, showing his nose coming into the back section of the lap. Vetero's aware of this. He's smart to it. He manages his braking point. He keeps his car in the middle of the circuit, making that 488 Challenge Evo as wide as humanly possible. And now it is very much down to the cars behind to force the issue coming into the last 20 minutes. 10 minutes already on the clock has gone. 20 minutes left to go.
Yeah, I always find the time goes fast for us, but I doubt it goes fast for the drivers. They're probably clock watching the whole time, but it's amazing how much preparation these guys do. You know, they will have spent hours and hours, days in fact, preparing for this race all week long to make sure that they get in that top 6. I mean, you've had so much experience in this world, Paul. What are the kind of tips to make sure that you are as competitive as possible when preparing for a race?
Miles and miles and miles of lapping. Just get in the car, keep driving, keep driving, keep driving. Build your experience, build your confidence. Get to a point as a driver where you can turn in lap after lap. As we see a very late lunge down into Abbey, that's incredibly dangerous there. Osdernick in the white Ferrari, chased down by Luciano Bedin into the chicane. Bedin came from miles back, a Daniel Ricciardo-esque move. Osdernick ahead, ahead, knew what was happening, gave him enough racing room. But the question is now, Luciano Bedin knows that this is his chance as both cars run wide into the first corner. There's contact. That's Osdernick making contact, spinning the white Ferrari around. Very disappointing manoeuvre there. Ran out of road, came back on again, made contact with the car, and that has opened up the chase for 6th position. Now there are 5 cars involved. We're riding on board with Bedin, who was looking for that 6th position. Now down to 10th. He's been delayed, but he's still in the fight, and that allows Striker up into 9th position, Panetta into 8th, Mirosnic in 7th, and Vetero just holding on to the 6th position as Bedin is on the outside, coming down to the right hand. There's contact again. Bedin has been caught in the rear corner, spins the car around. The car behind him, I believe, was Watts, is also facing the wrong direction, and we've gone from glory to absolute disaster in the space of 5 corners, Nikki.
Oh, what a terrible, terrible mistake. What a shame. What a shame. Right down to the bottom of the grid. Again, just shows how much can change in just an instant moment there. You've just got to keep concentration and keep an eye on what's going on around you, which isn't easy when you're in the virtual world. Like, I suppose when you're on a real racetrack, it's a little bit easier to have a check in your wing mirrors and see who's coming at you from the side. But not so easy today.
No, that's exactly right. And the spirit of competition and the heat of battle as well. They're desperate to get every opportunity they possibly can. But the upshot of that is our fight for 6th position still rages royally. But we've got some new names involved in it there. And speaking of fights, this battle for second. Marco Pinheiro has managed to eke out what amounts to about a quarter of a car's length advantage in second place. We're riding now with Bedin. This is the guy we saw earlier fighting for sixth position on the outside of Stowe, under attack from Kamola. Bedin, once again, his car is magnetic. Everybody's making contact with that yellow Ferrari. It'll be down to the carbon fibre by the end of this race with the amount of rubbing and banging he's had with his rivals, and he's dropped unbelievably to 17th place. So the Finnish driver Kimi Haitanen has managed to make an overtaking manoeuvre. And further up the field, Max Bishkoff, another man. Yellow Ferraris are bad news today, it seems. They're in all the action. And Max Bishkoff in 11th place. He was our early top 6 runner. Had a mistake, if you remember, earlier on. Spanned the car around, very much on the recovery drive now. But Bishkoff in 11th place. Striker, a driver that was almost in the top 6 last time out at Barcelona, is currently in 9th position. He's got a second or so gap to 8th place. Panetta ahead, and Vetero, through all this, retains 6th position as Bishkoff goes down the inside in a very clean late braking manoeuvre. Can't get the car stopped in time, runs wide, gets the power on. You see the rear sliding as the tyres are scrabbling for grip on acceleration, and Bishkoff makes a place and loses it almost instantaneously. Remember, he has spun. His rear tyres will be worn compared to his rivals. He'll still have enough meat there, but he's just dealing with a little bit less grip than those around him and a heck of a lot more determination, so it seems. And Max Bishkoff is having, if nothing, but an entertaining race, certainly.
Yeah, exactly. Although I'm not quite sure he's going to be agreeing with you. I don't think he wants it to be entertaining. I think he wants like a nice straightforward race where he finishes in the top 6, which would be lovely, wouldn't it? But great to see actually that the leaders there at the top are starting to pull away slightly, putting a little bit of a gap between themselves and the rest of the pack. So it's going to be interesting to see if anyone can actually catch up with them.
Yeah, the leaders are very much in a different race at the moment. And of course, the guys that we've been focusing on mostly, which is what we're doing now, is the 6 to 12, 13, 14 kind of position. They're battling with each other, so they're not going at their ultimate pace. They're fighting for track position with the rivals around them, defending, attacking, counter-manoeuvring what is happening from their rivals. So their ultimate pace is a little bit faster if they were in clean air, but such is the way of motor racing. It's not all about single lap pace. It's about race pace and strategy. In the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series, we don't have pit stops. It's only a 30-minute sprint race, so there's no strategy other than get out there and get to the checkered flag first. So everything you see here is unfolding in front of us. There's no aggregate timings. We haven't got to think about when people are going to come down pit road. This is a pure as it gets fight to the finish, to the checkered flag, and the drivers are giving their absolute everything because, as Nicky said earlier in the show, they need a top 6. Why do they need a top 6? That will guarantee them a place in the finals championship starting next month. That championship will be to fight for a place in the Ferrari Driver Academy eSport team, which means working and living and functioning in the heart of a beautiful, amazing, iconic and passionate brand like Ferrari in Maranello, alongside people like the reigning F1 esports champion, alongside the Ferrari Driver Academy drivers in Formula 2, in Formula 3, building your skills, representing the Scuderia in top level esport competition. You can't buy that opportunity. Not many people in the world get that opportunity, and that is why everybody's pushing so hard for the chance to quite literally change their lives. And I don't know about you, Nicky, I'm proud enough wearing the Ferrari polo shirt for this broadcast, but to be part of the team and representing them must be mind-blowing.
I know, I couldn't agree with you more actually. It is, you know, when you put it on, you do feel proud. It is such a, you know, an incredible brand to be associated with. And just talking to Enzo Benito last week, you could tell this has completely changed his life, becoming part of the Ferrari Driver Academy. So whoever the lucky winner is, it will most certainly have the same effect. And you could hear him, see him grinning from ear to ear, and just so proud to be wearing that prancing horse on his shirt.
Yep, absolutely. A great brand to be associated with and a great series. And remember, this is the final knockout race, the number 4 of 4. This is the last opportunity for these amateur drivers to take home that position in next month's championship, and they are putting on a fabulous show. We've got 12 and a half minutes left on the clock. We're riding on board for a moment now, off board with Wojciech Lukaszek in third place. He wants Marco Panero's second position, but he's mindful that they've got a large gap to the field behind, so don't do anything too ridiculous or risky and risk compromising that qualification spot. At the head of the field, Tizjewicz is walking away from the championship. Yep, so here we are now. We're riding on board with Lukaszek at this moment in time. We're coming into the beautiful Beckett's section of corners. We spoke about this earlier. Look how much curb you can take here. You've got to balance the car on the throttle, on the brakes. You've got to run over the curves, minimise the distance of the racetrack as much as possible and get a good run coming down the Hanger Straight. This is one of the longest straights on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. In race conditions as we are today, you'll be looking to get a slipstream from the car ahead, and then you've got to watch your braking point. It's a light and gentle application of brakes down into fourth gear. Balance the car on the throttle. Be cautious not to lose the rear end snap over the curbs as we power down into the chicane towards the final part of the lap. This is a hard braking point. You've got to watch out for the sausage curbs on the inside. You'll be careful not to lose the rear through the final corner as well. There's very low grip in this situation. Again, maximising the side of the circuit over the start-finish line and into the new for 2011 first corner. Watch how much speed you carry through here, because it's very, very easy to get too much speed into the second part, run wide, and then have to scrabble back onto the racing line for the right-hander, which has been done really well here by Lukaszek into the most frustrating corner in all of motor racing. You can be on power earlier than you expect for the long run down the Wellington Straight. This is pretty much a straight line. That corner straight over the curves, no problem whatsoever in the 488 Challenge Evo. Eats those curbs up without any problems at all, and then again 3 lines into this corner, hard on the brakes, start it tight in this occasion, over the curb on the inside, bring the car to the middle of the racetrack. Actually, we're going a little bit tight on board here, run it wide mid-corner so you can get on the power as early as possible over the outside curb and across the original start-finish straight. It's been going back off-board camera now, and that is, as we say, it's a fan favourite. And it's a driver's favourite as well. Silverstone is very much a reward for somebody who's confident and pushing to the very edge of the limit.
Yeah, I'm sure these guys are having a lot of fun right now. Yes, the competition is building, but it is just wonderful to see them go for it. It's an incredible track with so much history, so much heritage. We're brilliant to see some racing back there this year as well in the real world. But of course, we get the opportunity to visit it in the virtual world whenever we want, really, which is nice. What's your favourite track when you're playing at home, Paul?
Oh, it depends on the mood, depends on the car, depends on the competition, but I think Silverstone it's just one of those that suits almost every car. It suits a low-speed, downforce car like a junior Formula machine going through the Beckett's complex with downforce on board. The car really sits on the racetrack. It's wonderful, but it's also great for touring cars or something where you can drive more with the rear of the car. And this 488 Challenge is kind of a touring car come GT car hybrid. It's a one-make championship run by Ferrari. The Challenge Evo that we're seeing today has been designed and developed by the people that made this simulator, Assetto Corsa, and the car is a modification, a new update for 2020. The 488 GT3 has also received an Evo package as well, which is what races in the top level GT championships. So it's kind of a hybrid. It's not as fast as a GT car, but it's faster, very much so, than a touring car. It's rear wheel, it's got improved aerodynamics, it's got the same Ferrari engine actually that ran in the original 488 Challenge vehicle, but it's just a wonderful experience to drive, and it eats up the corners at Silverstone. There's a hint of understeer unless you dial that out with car setup, and by understeer I mean the car turns less than the steering wheel input that you give it, so setup changes have to be made to get it into a zone for you. But it's a great car, Nicky. It's a great track, and Silverstone always, in any class, real or virtual, produces amazing racing.
Some brilliant racing, yeah, and some brilliant racers as well that we're going to be hopefully getting to know in the next few months, because of course the top 6 go through to the AM Series, which will be taking place throughout of October. But then we are going to be announcing at the end of today's show our pro drivers, so the drivers who will go into the Pro Series, and then in the finals we'll have the top 12 drivers from the AM Series compete against the top 12 from the Pro Series. So it'll be really interesting to see how they line up together on the grid.
Oh yeah, super excited for that, but there's a little case of trying to secure a place in that championship still to wash out for the final 7 minutes. And while we've been talking about all things Silverstone and GT racing, we can see that the top 6 has remained unchanged. So Vetero, who was very much a man under pressure in the early stages of this race, has himself a little bit of a gap to the chasing field. The real fight, the real challenge at this moment in time is 7, 8, 9 and 10. We were riding on board, or off board, I should stop saying on board. We were riding off board with, I believe it was Diezdix in 14th place, really in the heart of the battle. So those drivers are all looking for a little bit, but looking back at a car again. Everybody's sort of separated by about 3/4 of a second front and rear. It's a case now as the car starts to warm up. It's running pretty much at its optimum. A 30-minute race, the tyres will hold out and give their best, unless you're doing something ridiculous, quite well through a 30-minute race. And the cars are at their absolute optimum. What the drivers are looking for is to put their rival under pressure to make a mistake. You need, the level is so high, you need the people around you to put a slight wheel out of place. As Panetta now, we're looking at Francesco Panetta, currently in 8th position on the charge, all over painted to the rear of Mironovic's Ferrari, ahead for 7th position. Francesco Panetta looking one way, looking the other, really hungry now for this overtake and try and chase up for Vetero ahead of him. And this is going to be the fight of the closing stages, I believe, Nikki.
Oh, this would be an absolutely brilliant battle if Panetta can get up there. But the thing is, even if he makes that pass, Vetero is still, a couple of seconds ahead up the road. So to get into the top 6, it's going to be a challenge with just 5 minutes to go.
It is. It's going to be a big challenge. There's a lot of gap to close down, but one thing that is absolutely for sure is there's been a change of position behind as well. So William Dende has moved up to 9th place. He has made an overtake on Striker behind these two, and that's going to give heart to Panetta. Panetta wants to get going. He wants to move forward. He's desperate for the overtake in the slipstream now, coming in still a little bit too far back. He's going to manage his brakes, maybe brake a little bit earlier to get the better run through the corner down into the Abbey chicane. But again, the car ahead gets a great run off the corner, which is vital for retaining position. But Panetta's got all the hallmarks of a man who wants to make a move. You can see the car's up on its tippy toes. You can see the aggression in the steering wheel. He can get it turned in earlier. That gives him a run down the old start-finish straight, or the new start-finish straight, into T1. No real overtaking opportunity there. In fact, he's gone a little bit too deep into the corner, lost time running through it. That's the air downforce effect. The car in front is great on a straight line because the slipstream, the air that it's braking up, will suck your car up to the back of it, but in corners that has the opposite effect. The car in front gives a wash, we call it. Dirty air comes off the back of the car, means the aerodynamics on the following car can't do their job, which makes the car more difficult to drive, can't get through the corner as quickly, and you'll lose time. And we've seen that perfectly. The very fast first section of Silverstone, look at the gap. As actually, there's a mistake. There is a mistake from Mironic, running a little bit wide into the right-hander, gets the car off the racing line, and that has opened the door again for Panetta to have another attack. So Panetta looking to get the run coming into Copse Corner with 3 minutes and 22 seconds left on the clock. He's going to brake a little bit earlier. He's going to turn in a little bit earlier than his rival, which he does. Get on the power quicker. This will give him a run down into the Beckett's complex. Beckett's is a hard place, but a possible place to overtake. Looking one way, looking the other, filling the mirrors of the car ahead. Again, a bit earlier on the brakes to get the maximum run through the corner. This right-hand part of the Beckett section is critical. tactical. He's using all of the racetrack to get the best run out of the turn possible. We saw the return to earth as he jumped over the curb, maybe slowed the car down a little bit, and this would be his best overtaking opportunity. But Nicky is just a few yards too far back.
Oh, and just 2.5 minutes pretty much to go. It's going to be a tough one, isn't it? But it's been brilliant to actually see this battle because, as you said, the top six are kind of, just doing their own thing at the moment. They've just kind of stayed in position and they've just built that lead from the rest of the pack. So it's all about whether Panetta can make that move, make it stick.
And interestingly, I don't know, I may have missed this on the timing screen, but actually this has suddenly become the fight for 6. They were fighting for 7th last time I looked, so somebody in the top 6 has dropped down the running order. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head who that was, but this has become even more important because this is the fight for 6th position. Mironovic, the current car at the front of this field, holds the bubble spot, holds the final qualification position, and Panetta needs to affect this overtake to get him through into the final. So even more important, this is not just honour, Nicky, this is qualification.
This is it. This is the battle that we've been actually hoping for, and it is now happening. This is fantastic to see. He seems to be just slightly moving off the pace, though. I mean, he was, 1/10, 2/10 off, but now he's nearly half a second behind, so it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I've just heard in my ear that Vetero is under investigation by the race stewards. Not quite sure what has happened there. I suspect there's been some contact further down. So these two, they can't rely on that. They can't rely on some kind of post-race sanction for the car ahead. They've got to get the business done, to be sure, on the racetrack. And Panetta does have on-screen display. He's got his dashboard readout that'll tell him his race position as he looks to the inside of the end of Becky's. No room there. The door was closed very firmly by Mironovic, and that has slowed him down the start. It's not the start-finish straight. Slowed him down. Hanger straight. Very strategic and tactical there from Mironovic ahead. Closing the door down, making sure that he holds him up at the apex of the corner so he can't get a slipstream down the back straight. Very strategic, but at this stage in the race, Panetta is the man with the pace in the car. He needs to make this opportunity. 7th position is the first of the no thank you, you're not going through brigade. So Panetta has got to find a way past that car in front, and this is going to be fascinating in the dying moments of this, the 4th and final knockout race of the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series.
Yeah, he's going to be feeling really frustrated with himself if he doesn't make it into that top 6. But as you say, we may see a penalty for Vetero. We've seen that happen in the past. I think we've had penalties for cutting corners, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
And Panetta just got into the back of Mironovic ahead, just made small contact coming down into the loop section. Luckily, both cars kept it facing in the right direction. So Panetta trying everything, including touring car tactics of punt and runs, but no avail. The car ahead has got the track position, and that is what you need at Silverstone. Make no mistakes. Make the car as wide as you possibly can. This is the final lap. There are only a limited number of opportunities for Panetta in 7th position to overtake the Ferrari ahead and get that all-important 6th place qualifying slot as we head down into Copse for the final time. Copse corner, a light touch of the brakes, drop a gear, keep velocity through the corner, keep speed through the corner to get the run down into Beckett's. Beckett's you can overtake if the driver ahead makes a mistake or you get your car alongside. But on this occasion, Panetta knows he needs to get the run. He needs to carry the speed on the hanger straight for the very final time. He's a little bit tighter than the car ahead. He gets a good run, exactly what he needs to do through Beckett's in the slipstream up to the rear bumper of the Ferrari ahead. Will he go to the inside? Will he go to the outside? Will he throw a dummy? He throws it down the inside of the braking zone. Not quite enough room there. The car wobbles under brakes. He manages to keep everything going in the right direction. He's got one more opportunity as our race winner crosses the line, but this is the fight for 6th position. He's on the outside. Mirovic covering the inside. Can they keep it too wide in for the second part of the chicane? No, they cannot. And Mironovic manages to seal the deal, retain the position, and crosses the line in 6th position for the final Ferrari Hublot Esports knockout race of the series. is our race winner, untroubled, from pole position. Marco Panero, second place, finally crosses the line. Lukasek in third position gets the final podium spot and a qualification. Ottavani in fourth. Vetero, under a steward's investigation, comes home fifth. And Mironovic, probably the most stressed out person in the whole space of esports, sim racing and Silverstone, gets sixth place. And Nicky, that was, to quote Murray Walker, absolutely barnstorming.
It was indeed. What a perfect end to these qualifying rounds. Absolutely fantastic battle. We always knew it was the battle around the bubble on the sixth place. Unfortunately, bad news for Panetta. Didn't quite make it through, but congratulations to those top 6 drivers who round out our top 24 drivers who are going to be going through to the AM Series.
Okay, we're back in studio, and massive congratulations once again to Matthias Tajcevic. I will apologise wholeheartedly for any pronunciation mistakes. Nikki, that's been a difficult one that we've thought over and thought about quite a lot during this broadcast.
Yes, unfortunately neither of us did Polish when we were at school, so Tajcevic is the pronunciation we've gone with. Congratulations, Matthias. And to all the other drivers, of course, that have got through to our AM Series. So that's it. We now have a full driver lineup. 24 drivers are going to be going through to the AM Series, which start next weekend. Let's take a look now, though, at our Pro Series lineup, because, of course, we haven't announced our 24 Pro drivers. Let's take a look at them.
Yep, so we've got Germany's Chris Hoke, Kamil Pawlowski, Samuel Ratz and Kevin Scolari in the first group, and Kamil, a very talented driver, isn't he, Nicky, that's done quite well so far in his career.
Yeah, he's been brilliant. He's been competing in the world's fastest gamer. I think he qualified in the top 3 in the GT World Challenge. So really, I mean, he is one of the young hotshots in this world of gaming at the moment. So I'm really excited to have him on board.
Yep, and then we've got Corrado Sorello, James Parker, Josh Martin and Tariq Gamel. Again, these are names that any seasoned esport watcher will recognise. Josh Martin being, in particular, someone that's always got a bit of excitement around him.
Yeah, he's one of our Trustmaster drivers, so great to have him on board of this competition.
There is indeed. Then Chris Hay, Giorgio Simone, Jordi Zveyers and Matteo Caruso. Now, Chris Hay, my mate Chris, the chap who I've commented with before in different series and raced against almost endlessly, a content creator on YouTube, very nice guy as well, and a very fast driver. Can't wait to see how Chris gets on.
So, Paul, honestly, you raced against him. Who won?
I couldn't possibly say. And then we've got our first lady racer, so Ayanuri Cavion, Arno Lacombe, Jesus Cecilia and Giovanni De Salvo.
Yes, so excited to have Evanuri as part of this championship. In the real world, very exciting. She is a livery designer, actually for real world cars and in the virtual world. But of course, she is joining us as one of our pro players.
And then we've got real-world driver Roman Monte, Victoria Thompson from Germany, Cesare Penco from Italy, and Alex Turato from Italy as well.
Really excited to have Victoria Thompson as part of this championship. I think she is going to be really one to watch in this competition. I'm sure your paths have crossed as well, Paul.
Yep, she is obviously very active at RCI, very, very fast driver. And also Roman Monti as well, races in the real world at high level in GT World Challenge. So that's great. And Samir Abrame, David Perel, Danilo Santoro and Alathi Abuk are our final drivers. And Samir Abrame is the guy that won the SRO Esport AM Series this season, and David Perel, another real world driver.
Yeah, and you might recognise Alethea as well, because she's very active, big name on YouTube. So there we have it. They are our pro drivers, our 24 drivers that will be competing next weekend. Of course, in October, we have the AM Series, the Pro Series running side by side to then get our finalists, 12 from each of those lineups. Super exciting. I can't believe it. That's it. Qualifying is over. Make sure you join us next week on October the 4th in Monza. You excited, Paul?
Absolutely cannot wait. The qualification knockout races have been fantastic. The quality, even for those who have not qualified, you should hold your head up high. Fantastic performances, and Silverstone, Nicky, was the most beautifully perfect send-off for the knockout, but now it's on to the big stuff, and I absolutely can't wait to keep representing the Prancing Horse in the commentary booth and to see these drivers fighting tooth and nail.
It was indeed.
Can't get better.
Thank you so much for everyone who has competed so far, and we look forward to getting racing underway next weekend. For further information, do go to Ferrari Esports.gg. We'll see you then.